Everyone thought Tay-K was done for when he got hit with a 55-year sentence in 2019, but the story only got wilder from there. Today, we're breaking down how he ended up getting another 80 years on top of that. It all started when Tay-K was convicted for the 2016 murder of Ethan Walker. But before the police caught up with him, he cut off his ankle monitor and took off to San Antonio, Texas. Instead of laying low, Tay-K dropped his infamous track The Race, which blew up while he was literally on the run. But during that time, he committed another crime. He allegedly murdered a man named Mark Salivar, a photographer who was supposed to link with Tay-K for a shoot. When Mark pulled up to meet Tay-K and his crew at a Chick-fil-A, things took a dark turn. Tay-K tried to rob him. Mark got out of the car and jumped on the hood, trying to kick the windshield in. That's when Tay-K pulled a gun and shot him. The feds eventually caught up with Tay-K and locked him up for the Ethan Walker case. Then a few months later, he got slapped with a capital murder charge for the killing of Mark Salivar, which carries an automatic life sentence without parole. After getting 55 years for Ethan Walker, Tay-K still held out hope for release. In 2021, he went on IG Live with 40,000 people watching and talked about the new music he'd written in jail, saying he was trying to come home on an appeal bond. But things took a turn behind bars. Reports came out in 2019 that TayK was trying to start his own prison gang called the Rugrats to go to war with a Hispanic gang known as Tango Blast. The warden found out and threw Tay-K in solitary confinement. Media even got hold of the Rugrats' laws of power. On top of that, there were rumors, never confirmed, that Tay-K stabbed a guard. In 2023, Tay-K tweeted that someone on his block killed a cellmate with a food tray and stood on his head, adding more chaos to his already wild image. Despite still having fans, some began to turn on him, calling him a snitch. Tay-K pleaded for a second chance, pointing out he was just 16 when the murders happened. He claimed that if he were white, he wouldn't have received such a harsh sentence. He also called out the court system for trying one of his white co-defendants as a juvenile while prosecuting him as an adult. But things only got worse. During his trial for the Mark Salivar murder, his own girlfriend, Joanna Reyes, testified against him. She told the court that Tay-K had asked her to help find a photographer. She had found Mark on Instagram and helped set up the meeting. She was driving Tay-K and his friend Jalen Bell when they went to pick up Mark. Mark later asked to reschedule the shoot and wanted to be dropped off at the mall instead. That's when things escalated. Joanna said Tay-K pulled a gun and demanded Mark's bag. When Mark refused, Tay-K and Jalen allegedly started beating him. Mark jumped on the hood of the car, trying to protect his gear. Joanna testified that Tay-K told her to get him off the car, but she said she couldn't do anything. In the end, Tay-K was found guilty and sentenced to an additional 80 years. Fans who once hoped he'd beat the case and eventually see parole now see a different reality. Tay-K might never walk free again. After the shooting, Tay-K allegedly opened his car door and fired the fatal shot at Mark Salivar. According to Joanna Reyes, after they sped away from the scene, Tay-K's associate Jalen Bell gave him a high five and said, "You caught your first body," congratulating him on the killing. Joanna later took a plea deal in exchange for her testimony, 10 years of probation, and told the court she didn't go to the police right away because Tay-K had threatened to kill her and her family if she spoke out. Her testimony played a major role in Tay-K receiving the additional 80-year sentence, but the defense didn't do him any favors either. During her testimony, the judge warned Tay-K's lawyers that they couldn't bring up anything negative about Mark Salivar without first discussing it with the prosecution. Reports say that there was allegedly incriminating material in Salivar's bag that could have cast him in a negative light, and the defense attempted to use it by questioning Joanna about it. Since they hadn't cleared it with the court beforehand, the judge cleared the courtroom and warned the defense not to make that mistake again. Their attempt to shift blame onto Salivar was immediately shut down, and the judge instructed the jury to disregard the entire line of questioning. TayK's sister, Kayla Beverly, also took the stand in an effort to defend him. She testified about the trauma and abuse they both experienced growing up. Kayla told the court that she and TayK entered foster care when she was 7 and he was 5. Later, they lived with their father, who she claimed would beat them with wooden objects, and even went as far as tying TayK to an ironing board.
Tay-K was younger than me, and he would cry, and just maybe they would think he was overdramatic, so they would tie him down to an ironing board, strap him down, like stuff like that.
Kayla testified after TayK had already been found guilty, with his lawyer hoping her words might help reduce his sentence. She spoke about the abuse they suffered growing up, saying it all began when they were forced to run away from home to escape their violent father. According to Kayla, their dad beat them so severely that they had no choice but to leave. That's how TayK ended up in the streets, trying to survive on his own. While the judge acknowledged that TayK had a difficult upbringing, he made it clear that it didn't excuse his actions. He was still responsible for the choices he made.
We had to run away. That's why all this shit happened, because it was not like even good when we came to our dad. You feel me? Like, not even like that. Like, a lot of dudes don't try with their kids and shit. Like, so I give my dad that. I'm not saying he's a terrible dad, but hey, bro, like, life was messed up. Like, we kind of like it was abuse going on in our home. We had to leave.
Before the trial for the Mark Salivar case even began, TayK's legal team was already on edge about the jury possibly bringing up his Track the Race. Prosecutors had used the song's lyrics and video against him during the Ethan Walker case, painting it as a confession and celebration of the crime. His lawyers didn't want anyone on the jury who was already familiar with the track, worried it would bias them against him from the start. TayK had started to gain some attention before the race, but that track is what truly catapulted him into the spotlight. The fact that he released it while on the run for murder made headlines everywhere, turning the whole situation into one of the most infamous moments in hip-hop. The song got even bigger after Lil Yachty jumped on the remix, and in 2023, Yachty even shared a letter TayK had sent him from prison. Despite some support in the music industry, a lot of people believe TayK wouldn't have lasted long in the game, even if he hadn't caught 2 murder charges. His first and only project dropped after he was already locked up for the Ethan Walker case, and no one can say for sure how far he would have gone. At the time, people were comparing him to artists like YBN Nahmir and NBA Youngboy, but even Nahmir fell off without having to deal with any legal drama. Fans had once hoped TayK might get parole on the Ethan Walker sentence and make a comeback with new music, but now that hope is pretty much gone. He did get a break in the Mark Salivar case when the jury convicted him of murder instead of capital murder, which means there's still a slim chance he could get parole one day. Still, even in the best-case scenario, TayK is looking at serving several decades before there's any talk of freedom.